Times Square is one of the busiest places in the world. Every day, up to 500,000 people pass through here. Because the majority are tourists, people believe that just owning an advertisement in Times Square will not only send a signal to the US, but also to the entire world that you are an attractive brand. For Samsung, being more fashionable, attractive, and interesting first when the brand began to receive the unfavorable nickname, Samsung. So in 1995, Samsung invested in an external advertising space. The prominent skylight called the Spectacular is on the east side of Times Square. Although it's quite impressive and can't be missed, you might just have to take a little higher to see it, or else you'll need to be Spider-Man on the receiving end. In 2002, the humans fought the Green Goblin in one of the world's most famous locations, and Samsung is excited. It is Stan Lee's favorite character, but more importantly, it was heavily advertised. It is expected that millions of people will watch the film. Samsung ads will be displayed extremely prominently. The official trailer has been released. A Samsung employee shouted. Over the past few months there have been a number of short promotional videos released, but none of them revealed the battle in Times Square. Everyone expected that the longer trailer would be there. Everyone at Samsung was excited to see it, especially Eric Kim. Eric was born in Korea, but moved to California when he was 12 years old. Samsung hired him in 1999 as Executive Vice President of Marketing at Samsung and quickly rose to become their Global Marketing Director. Now, let's turn on the trailer. After a minute and a half, someone screamed, "That's Spider-Man!" And the spider-suspended superhero moves across the concrete ceiling of New York. With a risky jump, the familiar movements of a hero, he rescued a child and glided through the famous Times Square building to safety. Is it just me, or is our logo gone somewhere? Perhaps Eric asked. The staff was equally confused. Go back to that part. Same shot, but without the Samsung logo. Can anyone confirm for me whether our logo is still in Times Square? Eric started to worry. He asked his team. I continue to pay for advertising space. And it's a famous prime location. If your team makes a mistake now, it will be a waste of an important opportunity. An employee opened the email, and they actually bought the ad. Stop there for me and get me the actual photo of the Samsung ad. Eric just took the exam. After comparing side by side, it's clear that everything matches, except for the Samsung logo, which has been replaced by USA Today. This made it clear to Eric that Sony, the owner, the Spider-Man movie, intentionally erased them. The war with Sony has officially begun. In 2002, in the announcement of Spider-Man production launch, they removed the Samsung logo. That's when Sony started looking at Samsung as a real threat, and there is reason for them to think so. Until that time, Samsung had existed for more than 60 years and seemed to have found his way. Samsung Electronics was founded in 1968 through a partnership with Sanyo. They have started to leave their mark in the world of technology. In 1970, they introduced the first black and white TV, and in 1978, they sold about 2 million black and white TVs. However, compared to Sony, Samsung is still far behind. Sony actually won an Emmy for their advancement in TV technology. But gradually, Samsung cannot be ignored as they step into the semiconductor field and almost caught up with both Japan and the West. Semiconductors are the foundation for most technology, which means that in terms of basic climate, Samsung seems to have it covered. The change was driven from the top down by their leader, Chairman Lee Kun-hee, Lee BC's successor. That is, the founder of Samsung, through the fierce speeches of Kun-hee, known as the Frankfurt Declaration. He has inspired the company's spirit, encouraging them to be sincere from producing large quantities of goods to high-quality goods. This makes Samsung a company worth considering. However, few people think they can take on the industry giants. Even Samsung employees themselves have warned about this, but they still decided to join the market anyway. American market through a number of products such as TVs, microwave ovens, bins and components are sold quickly and at cheap prices. In the late 90s, Samsung confidently entered the mobile phone segment and intends to dominate the market with cheaper products. There's just one problem. Carriers previously controlled the sale of cell phones, and Samsung is only familiar with Shrint. In 1999, in Kansas City and KT, a talented Samsung's capabilities are in Shrint's office. Shrint is the third largest mobile network in the US. The largest carrier is AT&T. And the second largest carrier is Verizon. This meeting is an important decision to build credibility of Samsung before they can compete with the big guys. All eyes were on KT, convincing Shrint's team. And English is not his native language. KT held up his Samsung phone like a magician and allows Shrint executives to view it from up close. He then suddenly attacked the phone. Pull it, try to squeeze and rotate the flip cover in all directions before tossing it on the floor. "Oh, this is the first time I see this," a director of Shrint commented. KT was clearly tired after destroying his phone. Then step on it before picking it up. "Hello, this is KT. I just called to check my phone." The Shrint team's surprise was truly aroused. The Samsung phone still works fine, and KT knew he had caught their attention. For emphasis, he turned his eyes to a Shrint engineer in the room. "Can I borrow your phone for a moment?" "Oh, okay. But don't." KT opened it and destroyed the engineer's phone. "Are you kidding me? My phone is broken. Can I view a Motorola phone?" KT reminded. A Shrint executive ordered one to be brought in. But before giving it, he looked straight into KT's eyes and said, "I'm not planning on destroying it anymore." KT continued to bring the phone to his face, then shouted, "Motorola, get out of here," before returning the phone. The room should be quiet. It was a pretty unique presentation. Direct attack on Motorola, one of the largest phone manufacturers. It also shows that Samsung is very eager to defeat all competitors. This was in line with Shrint's slogan at the time, "Shrint ahead." Moving forward, that crazy meeting started. Samsung entered the US mobile market for the first time. Towards the end of the year, Samsung attracted attention from other mobile carriers when the company released the SCH-3500 model. An on-call telephone model was with Motorola's best-selling model, the StarTAC. The SCH-3500 has become Shrint's flagship product, with over 6 million copies sold in transparent stores. 2 years, twice as long as the average. Samsung's strategy is simple. Create the impression then of a continue with Samsung's value strength, value measured in money. To add more appeal, Samsung also invited operators of other mobile carriers to Korea and organized a grand tour, opening bottles of whiskey, and hired singers for entertainment performances. The stories about the parties that were held were equally crazy, including donating a sword to cut the cake, hiring special police and leave a gift bag of buckwheat money at the hotel reception. Samsung repeated impressive network demonstrations with and when Singular, a new carrier acquired by AT&T, came along. Samsung donated $500,000 to the Katrina Relief Fund. To give you a better idea, the average donation only a tenth of Samsung's amount. Whether it was a demonstration network or not, it was in the early 2000s, Samsung distributed to almost every mobile retailer. However, providing door-to-door service to customers has become so much so that Samsung started having many custom contracts for each carrier. Eventually, Samsung began to lose consistency as a company. That's why Eric Kim appeared, who will unify the communication of Samsung and the start of the war against Sony. Eric is considered an outsider, and not just because he grew up in America, but also because of his experiences. Traditionally, Samsung's leaders are promoted from within, meaning Samsung is the only company they have ever worked with. Eric brings a rich set of experience, which could be just the diversity Samsung needs. He graduated with a degree in engineering, then worked at many different technology companies. Most notable is Silicon Graphics Inc. The company has promoted the field of computer graphics. When joining, your mission is to unify the Samsung brand under one common machine, common ideal. This is a huge task when Samsung has up to 55 workers. Advertising companies, each company has a separate contract. To maintain a consistent global message, there is a need to unify all these departments under one banner. Senior managers of Samsung product lines are gathering in an office room in Korea. They weren't very interested. There were rumors that the kimchi-eating American would meet them. "Hello, everyone," Eric entered the room. "I will get straight to the point. This meeting helps us understand how to allocate our marketing budget." "Yes, Eric," a manager replied. "At Samsung, we view marketing as part of sales." Eric had predicted this. He had prepared in advance. "So, but why? What do you want to ask?" "Why? I want to ask why marketing is part of sales." But Samsung's management felt annoyed. Some probably chuckled, thinking that Eric was rich. Elevate the position of marketing above sales. For them, any money they earn is hard and should be spent on R&D to produce better products, or to wage price wars against competitors. From what they knew about Eric, he usually liked to enjoy meals. Luxury dinner. You are considering their budget as your lifestyle. "I know you guys don't like me," Eric explained. "And you will say that is not the Samsung way. But setting a marketing budget is based on a percentage of current sales seem a bit lacking in visibility, don't you think so?" The team doesn't think so. "If we base it on potential sales, I'm fine. Use marketing to actually achieve future sales." Again, the team doesn't think so. "This is going to be more difficult than I thought." During the time he consolidated his marketing budget, everyone knew that he had met. There was a lot of resistance from factory employees to Samsung's senior leaders. It took countless meetings and a speech from Samsung's CEO at that time, the person who recruited him before the leaders agreed. In the following financial year, he managed to focus the budget, $1 billion worth of marketing, and an additional $400 million for advertising. What remains is to find a comprehensive copy of this. This was surprisingly easy for him. Through a conversation with a friend, he learned that the campaign was unified. Samsung must start with being inclusive, optimistic, and linked to technology. The keywords right now are digitalization and friends. Around added an L to the end to create digital. All digitized. A new open campaign to everyone. In the early 2000s, Samsung started to become more cohesive and, most importantly, more inclusive. But it's still not really cool. So Eric started looking how to get Samsung products to appear in movies. Through negotiations with Sony, he convinced them to give the final release of Spider-Man. Although initially, Sony removed it. His success continued with the pudding deal. Samsung phone in the movie The Matrix Reloaded. While Samsung is growing, Sony seems to be struggling. Partly due to the economic downturn in Japan and their drastic CEO transition, Sony has weakened seriously. Even their hold on the consumer electronics market is dwindling. With their music department under attack from Apple, Samsung thought it's time for tattoos to occupy one of the largest segments. TV. What are you doing today? Samsung digital wireless phone. A final release with voice-activated dialing. He said the name and Samsung dialed the name. Let all names vibrate. In 2006, Samsung was preparing to take the television throne from Sony. This time seems to have come true for Sony. Not only are we having trouble with consumer electronics, but even their display part is having difficulty. Started as one of the largest display manufacturers, Sony's layoffs have made LCD production unstable. In an act of desperation, Sony CEO agreed to a joint venture with Samsung called Cell CD. This also allows Samsung to produce video networks according to Sony standards, with Eric's global branding campaign in full swing. The time for Sony's attractive television project is approaching, and Joy Gisson, or GS, has taken on this role. GS is a rare asset of Samsung. He was born into poverty, intelligent, and loyal. This brought him to Samsung in 1977. Over the past 27 years, GS has not only served Samsung, but with his loyalty, he also serves the Lai family, and was given the responsibility of leading the Future Strategic Office, also known as the Tower, Samsung's highest office. This also means that GS has a unique understanding about what poor and rich people like. This was important in 2004, when he was the chief design director tasked with defeating Sony. With Samsung's authorization and financial resources, he selected 11 engineers and designers, asked them to record confidential documents before just training them at the heart of the Value Innovation Program, also known as VIP Center. It's like a 5-star hotel, open 24/7. There is a gym and GIA entertainment pool table. The younger members of the team may have been excited, but the elders know well, what is a VIP center really? A paradise in hell. Everyone, GS walked up to the stage. You were all chosen for a reason. It's to build the next best TV. To ensure that, we have provided it for you. The best amenities Samsung can offer. But make no mistake, you shouldn't be out here unless it's to work on a TV project. Everything will be provided, so I expect the best results. Rumor has it that the team then took an oath: never leave the lab until the project is complete. Under the guidance of the professor, they drew inspiration from their inner consciousness. An important decision at that time. Because TV technology has caught up. This means that the average TV can satisfy most consumers. The deciding factor is how the TV looks in your home. A field of painting that interior manufacturers are very familiar with. GS and his design team believe to win, they will need something beautiful. This is quite difficult for a traditional company. Usually produces compact TVs, full of hardware features. Starting out, the project seemed to be going nowhere. Both engineers and designers argue about functionality versus simplicity. But the end result is a small 26-inch TV, wide at the top, but narrows towards the bottom and ends in a small base. To GS, it looks like a glass of wine, so he named it Border TV. Although there are many concerns, Song Team introduced this TV to the public in April 2006, at a price of $300. People immediately loved it. Soft scenes, smart placement of speakers, and the bright image network has captivated consumers. Within 6 months, sales surpassed 1 million. And in the same year, Samsung became the leading manufacturer of LCD TV, first time surpassing Sony. And until now, for 16 years straight, Samsung continues to maintain this position. The era of Sony TV has finally come to an end. That was 2005, 6 years before Apple decided to sue Samsung for copyright infringement. And a Samsung president went to Palo Alto, at Steve Jobs' house. Jobs visited Samsung when he was young. But today, at the age of 50, he met Samsung again, in the hope they can resolve their problem. As you know, our iBud is very successful, Jobs told the Samsung chairman. When we released it in 2001, it made a splash. And today, it has about 70% market share. Samsung chairman knew Jobs was right. iBud has partially defeated Sony's consumer music electronics. But now, when music has become something that consumers cannot do without, we need our iBud to work longer and withstand harder blows. And the big weak point is our hard drive. I understand, Steve. Samsung chairman placed a blast NAND memory on the table, which is lighter and more efficient than a traditional hard drive. We think we have what you need. Jobs then continued chatting with the president of Samsung's semiconductor and memory division before signing a deal for Samsung to become exclusive supplier of blast memory for iBud series. The contract would later be expanded to include the microchips in the first iPhone and up to 70% off iPhone models depending on the model. Although Apple may be satisfied with the initial cooperation, but they eventually realized that Samsung was follow your old playbook. Build, deliver, learn, compete. A drastic strategy was deployed to defeat Sony in the television industry, and something Apple didn't know about. In winter 2011, Samsung will release the S2 and started the war against Apple.